Hello everyone, this is Mustafa. I'm capturing this video as the start of a series of video that I will capture for the developers. Now we're getting more and more developers and it's kind of like hard, and it's at the same time it's our responsibility to help you get it started, and I can see many people have a hard time to get it started. So I will try to capture 3 videos right now to get this playlist kind of started. The first one will be like how to start a very simple component, how to create this very simple component. I call it Say Hi, and I show you like how you can create it, how we do it in Ladybug, and in a way, as you can see now, this component is up here. And then for the next one, I show you how to create a component which uses some Ladybug functions, and we will cut it like get cloudiness. So we will create a component that get the cloudiness from an EPW file and outputs it as a percentage. And in the third video, which will be a little bit more advanced, I'll show you how to create a component for Honeybee, or basically what is the structure of like Honeybee for development. And I think that will be it for now, but hopefully I can add more and more videos here on like based upon requests. Like if somebody asks for something, I'll add more and more. But I think these 3 should be enough to get you started with your developments. So okay, let's get started on this one as the first one. As you probably know, all the Ladybug and Honeybee components are Python components. So if I bring this here and click on it, you can see it's a Grasshopper Python editor. And we create them as user objects, and they show up here. So they are not compiled DLLs for several reasons, but this is how it is right now. And as you can see, if I do Control Alt and press, it just shows me a Python component. So it's a native Grasshopper Python component. So to start, you always need a Python component. That's all you need, and then we will take this and create a Ladybug component out of it. Okay, let me say what this component is supposed to do now. So I want to create a component that takes the name and says hi to that name. So if I say Chris, it should say hi Chris, and I can say hi Chris Mackey. I can say hi Chris Mackey, right? So this is what we want to create, and we want this thing to be placed here under Ladybug down here. The first thing I think you need to know is the kind of convention that we have for naming and how the components are structured. And I will use this component Ladybug download EPW weather file as an example because it has the minimum amount of code that you need. It has 1 input and 1 output, and I think it's a good place to start. So I click there. As you can see, on the top of the code we have some comments. Basically it says what is this, who developed this. In your case, write your name here, you have to write your email here. This is the licensing, just leave it here as it is. It's developed by you. This basically says like the whole license for the Ladybug and Honeybee development. Then from here we have a bunch of comments that makes this component kind of look good and looks like a real component more than just like a generic Python component. So in the first line there is a description, and this is what will be your component description. So if I hover my mouse on the icon, you can see use this component to open the Department of Energy's weather database, blah blah. So this comes from here. So whatever you write here before the arguments will be the description of your component. Then you can see here it starts from arguments. You can list your inputs and write the description for the input in front of it. The Python component will just do it for you, so it will read this and it checks download is the name of my input, which I have here. And now if I hover my mouse here, it says set boolean to true to open. It comes from here, right? Then you have the same thing for return. So we have an output called named readme, and this is the description for that. It shows up here. And after that, we have a couple of lines that we set up the properties for this component, in this case this one. So we say what is the name. As you can see here, the name shows up, Ladybug download EPW weather file. Then what is the nickname? So in the name, we always start with Ladybug or Honeybee, and there is a reason for that, and you should stick to this too, because we have some component that helps us export the components or remove all the Ladybug Honeybee components, and all of them check for this name. So if you don't have this name, it doesn't take it as a Ladybug or Honeybee component. So this is a standard thing. So you should have Ladybug underline or Honeybee underline when you start. Then there's a nickname, which comes afterward, and if you change this to be text instead of icon, you will see the nickname. So that's where the nickname is. I change it to an icon again. And then there is a message here which shows up here, which we use for versioning and the date. The version change, we don't change the versions. We only change the versions when we have a major release or there is a major change. So how we keep track of changes is the date. And this is important too, because if you don't change it right, when you export the component, when you have a new one, it won't overwrite the old one. So because, I mean, you need to change this so the component can check and make sure this is a newer version, so it will overwrite the other one. Then there is a line for category and subcategory, which basically says where this component should be when you create the user object. So this one says the category is Ladybug, so it goes under Ladybug here, which is the category, and it says subcategory is 0 Ladybug, which is this one. So the other subcategory is 1. For example, 1 analyze weather data or 2 visualize weather data. So this is the category. This is the subcategory. And then there is a line that says compatible Ladybug version, and it says what is the version that this component is compatible with. So in this line, we basically tell okay, it's like if you are a Honeybee Ladybug user, you have seen probably sometime it tells you, oh, you need a newer version of Ladybug to use this component, or you need a newer version of Honeybee to use this component. And this is the line that basically we check to understand which version is the version that should be used with any of the components. And we need this because we are always developing and we have the new versions coming out, right, on GitHub. And we're making changes to Honeybee and Ladybug, and there are some components that need like that version, the latest version, to work fine. So and there are the other components that are fine with any of Ladybug and Honeybee components, like even before that. So make sure to set this thing up to the latest version that you really need. For example, right now, what will happen is if I fly my Ladybug, my version for Ladybug is 0059 February 17th, right? And this one says the one from February 1st is fine. So for example, if I make some changes and update my Ladybug and have a version for February 20, then I want this one to be February 21. And here should be February 22, right? But it doesn't matter. I want just to show you what will happen. So now, in this component, I don't have a check because it's pretty simple and it doesn't really need any of the functionalities of Ladybug. So I don't really check for the version. But in other components, if you change this date, it won't work. It will give you the warning of, oh, I need a newer version of Ladybug if you have an older version of Ladybug flying. I can show you with one of this component what I mean. So I just use import EPW, and here I change this one instead of February 01, I do it February 20th. And now if I put file and open a new file. Energy plus weather data, and then let's do golden. So if I connect this to that, oops, it didn't work. Let's see what happened. Oops, sorry, I changed the wrong line. I changed the version of the component, not the version of compatibility, or whatever the word is, compatible. So now if I do this, you will see it won't work. It says you need a newer version of Ladybug to get it work. So this is why we have this line in the code. And for this one, we only have Ladybug. But if you check Honeybee components, you will have a line for Ladybug and a line for Honeybee. And then finally, you have additional help reference document string, which we use to know where this component should go under the subcategory. So this one says 2, and it means it will go to 1, 2. So you see this vertical lines that separate these segments. So it goes under 2. If I had it at 1, it would go here, end up here, which this one is. And then from here we have the code itself. Okay, so what I will do is just I copy paste this heading from this component actually into my component. And then we will modify it to work for us. So first of all, I need a component that has an input called name and has an output which is out, because this is I'm printing it out. So I just remove this and I leave this one, which is the one that basically prints the stuff out. It's like it works like a console. So panel, I connect the panel here as out, and then I change it to readme the name. This is what we usually call the print console for our components. And then this one I change it to a name, and I know that this name is going to be a string, so I go here, type, and set it to string. And I know it's a single name, so I leave the type access to item access. Usually many people, when they get started, they get confused between different access, like item versus list versus tree. Right now, like, make sure you're using the right one. So for this one, item access is fine. So now I go inside, and as you can see, I didn't change the name of the component here because it will be set based on what we do here if I can. Okay, I did it. So now I paste what I had there and I change this. So this will be called, this is say hi component for developers video. Oops. And I left this thing the same because this is the one that I'm developing, and here I for the description of the component says say hi, and I get rid of all this line, and provided by Ladybug, this is the same version. And for the argument, I have one argument called name, and if you don't know, probably you should know if you're a Honeybee or Ladybug user, but if you don't, the meaning of this underline. So I put an underline here and no underline on this way, which means this is a required input. So you need this, but there is no default value. So name is, and I say input your name. And for this one, which is the readme, so I say this output, what is it? Or output says hi to you, and the name is going to be Ladybug say hi. and the nickname is say hi, and the version is the same. Today is 24th, and the category is Ladybug. It will be under 0 Ladybug, but this one is going to be under the first one, right? So I just put this one, and you see we put this in try exception because it wasn't available in one of the older version of GH-Python, and it was making the GH-Python crash. So at some point we will just remove that. So right now I should be fine if I press F5, or you can click on test. Let's see what happened. So the name of the component changed. Now when I go here, it says say hi, say hi, say hi, and provided by Ladybug. Name, it says input your name. Okay, that's cool. And readme says this output says hi to you, and you have the right version, and everything looks fine. The only thing here is this is February 17th, so I make this February 17th for the compatible version of Ladybug, so we won't have any issue. So okay, component is almost ready. Now I need to write the code. This is basically the template ready. So how we usually write the code in the components, there are two parts. We have a main function that we're using to have the code, right? Whatever happens is usually happening in the main. And then before we call the main function, we usually have a check for the inputs, especially for default inputs. Sometimes, I mean, it depends. Many times I write all the check inside the main component too, but sometimes I don't do it. It's just easier to write it beforehand for the users. So for now, let's write everything inside the main function. The only thing I do here, I just call it, right? So I say main, and I send name as the input in the function. And like this video is not like about Python, right? So I assume you guys already know how to code in Python. So here what I need to do, the first thing is to check my input, or even before that is to check the version. For now I don't check the version. It will be like next video I show you how to check the version of Ladybug, which is flying, and make sure the right version is flying. But in this video I just check the input, and I try to say hi, and I have around like 12 minutes left for this video. So let's do that. So the first thing is check input, and make sure the input is valid, and then say hi. So this is all I want to do. So for checking the input, my input is the name, right? Name here. I just check if the name is nothing, or a string empty. You can use a string empty, but just I learned this better, like to keep the code as simple as possible, especially for people when they get started, so you don't get confused with the tricks. And speaking of that, I just press enter, so I just write it in the next line. So if name is nothing, is empty, or actually I made a mistake, because that's fine. I want to say if the name is none, which the input is there is no name, so I just pass, because because it's a function, you can just return, right? So I just return nothing because there is no name. If not, which means here, if it passes that line, it means you have a name there. So I can just say print whatever your name is, hi plus name plus exclamation point. So that should be fine. And I mean, if it doesn't get you confused, I think this is much better to write it like this. So this is 2 lines of code, and I don't return anything because this is just printing out. But you can definitely return and have an output here. What I think that's kind of obvious, but just in case. So now if I press F5, it shows OK, and let's check it. So I just double click, type, let's say hi to myself, Mustafa. Yeah, it says hi Mustafa, and then I say someone else, Abraham, and it says hi Abraham. Okay, so it apparently works fine. And now I want to go for the last step, which is adding it up here. So let me delete that one. So I have nothing up here now. I need to do two things. One is to add the icon, and the second one is to create the user object here. To add the icon, it's pretty easy. To make it in a way that you can see it, I changed this to be the icon, and this is what we usually do with all the Ladybug Honeybee components. So I mean, I'm so used to using the text, not the icon, but for some reason, I don't know, for all the Ladybug and Honeybee component, we set the default to be icon. So even if your system is set to text, I mean, as far as you don't force it, it will show up with the icon. So I changed it to the icon, and I already create a black icon for this. I actually created another one, but it doesn't look good, so I'm using this cloudiness one or whatever. Let's use this. So this is say hi PNG. It's a 24 by 24 PNG photo image, and all you need to do is just put this thing here. Boom. So now this icon is with your component. Okay, last step, just add it here to the user objects. You can do this totally manually, like you can select, oops, I didn't want to double click. You can select the component which is already selected and go here and say create user object, and it gives you the options. Ladybug, say hi, say hi, say hi, Ladybug. Like, it knows all the places, and it reads all this information basically from the lines that we added here. So that's why this is critical. I go again here, I go file, create user object, and then it says what is the panel section, which this one we want to be under Ladybug, so it's 1. So now if I say OK, you will see it will show up here, and then I can bring it down. So now I have a component that actually works. But this is not how we do it in Ladybug and Honeybee, and the reason is because we don't only need the user object, but we need the Python file inside the code. So what you can do is you can do as I did, create this thing separately, and then go ahead and like copy this in a Python file, or actually you can save it from here. You can export as or save it. So, but because we wanted to make it easy for developers, including myself, this component is here, Ladybug export Ladybug. So what it does, it takes the component name. Okay, before this, I just removed this again here from here. It takes the component, it asks for the target folder, and the target folder, let me open the GitHub, is going to be your root GitHub folder. I'm opening GitHub, so okay. Here, so for Ladybug, I just go ahead and open an Explorer. This is where Ladybug lives on my system, so my Dropbox. So now let's see what will happen. I want you to be able to see this. So I just put it there. I just put this here. So what I do for the target folder, I just send the folder here, which is the master, basically wherever I have my Ladybug GitHub folder cloned on my system. So I connect this as my target folder, and then if I set the boolean to true, there are two things that's going to happen. So boom, it says that this thing is exported. And as you see now, I have this component up here, so it's already added here. But more than this, if I go here inside my source, you will see there is a Python file, Ladybug say hi, and there is a user object, Ladybug say hi. So by doing this, if I now go back here on my GitHub, you see like the files are already ready, and I can commit, and I can say first commit, and then you write here that this component does this and that, says hi to the user, and all this stuff, and then you can commit this. I'm not going to commit this right now, but if you commit this, you can add it to the GitHub so everybody else can have it too, and you can send a pull request, and then we can merge it in. Okay, I think that was it for now. I discard all these changes because I don't want say hi component really, but hopefully it shows you the process and how we do it. And that's all I have here to share, and see you in the next video when we make the Get Cloudiness component. Thanks for watching.